Welcome back, dear viewers. You're watching Nile Cruise on Nile TV International, and in this topic of discussion, we're going to be talking about the pivotal role that Al-Azhar institution is playing in combating the COVID-19 or the coronavirus outbreak, which has not only been spread here in Egypt but across the globe. And the Al-Azhar is working relentlessly to raise awareness among the general public about the hazards of the coronavirus outbreak, and also giving tips to how not to contract the virus, and to shed more light on this topic. We're most delighted to be joined by Dr. Hossam Allam, and he's a member of Al-Azhar Fatwa Global Center, to tell us more about the efforts of Al-Azhar. A very warm welcome, Dr. Hossam. Thank you so much for joining us on Nile Cruise.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's always a pleasure being with you here.
It's a pleasure, sir, to have you with us in today's episode of Nile Cruise, of course. Sir, we start off our questions today by asking you, of course, that there are ongoing efforts by Al-Azhar University to raise the awareness towards the novel coronavirus, awareness of the people, awareness of the children, awareness of the students at Al-Azhar University, awareness of the entire world, because Al-Azhar, as a very important institute, does not only look at Egypt, but we, of course, send religious course all over the world.
Yes, indeed, it's a very important point to start with, and I really appreciate it. Let me start by saying that, yes, Al-Azhar is fully aware of the critical time that not only Egypt is going through, but all of our global human family is experiencing, and it is for this, since the reports that came to highlight the hazards of COVID-19, Al-Azhar has been working around the clock, first by following all the reports that are coming from the World Health Organization, and also from the Health Ministry here in Egypt, and all concerned health authorities across the globe, and also in an effort to make sure that the members of Al-Azhar Fatwa Global Center are up to date with all these developments. We have been providing briefings and information session for the members, so that they are fully aware of all the details surrounding the coronavirus or COVID-19 and the developments of the epidemic into a pandemic. So in this regard, Al-Azhar has been doing its best through not only the traditional or the conventional means of raising awareness, but including the social media and the alternative means of communication. Al-Azhar is available now on all of these platforms to receive questions and to provide the answer to all of them.
Dr. Hossam, also Al-Azhar Fatwa Global Center seeks to address the problems of the people on their daily lives.
Yes.
To what extent this is valid?
As a matter of fact, like I mentioned, Al-Azhar, for instance, when it comes to COVID-19, it has been highly concerned with what is going on, and this is why we have been following all of these reports and being there to receive the questions of the people and to provide the necessary knowledge that the people need to be aware of. This is why, for instance, I can mention here in this context the very swift reaction in this regard of Al-Azhar's authority of senior scholars. How is it? It was so quick to announce that it is permissible to suspend temporarily the holding of congregational prayers, including the Jum'ah or the Friday prayer, as a precautionary measure in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19. And it highly urged all individuals to abide by the instructions and the health guidance that are provided by the competent health authorities in this regard, in order to avoid the spread of COVID-19.
Sir, of course, in Islam it's haram or religiously forbidden for those, of course, with coronavirus or any virus or any mean of illness to, of course, attend any means of prayers that takes place in a crowd. Because of course he harms others or she harms others. How does Islam consider the well-being of humans as a priority, sir?
Indeed, this is a very important question, and before answering the question itself, I'd like to highlight a very important point, and that's the importance of showing solidarity amongst each other at a time like the one that we are going through, because we have been noticing and we have already observed that some people experience some sort of bullying because of the fact that it is highly possible that they could have contracted the virus, or that they are already infected with the disease. Medically speaking, anyone could be infected with the disease, but it is not necessarily showing its symptoms on this individual. So it is important for us to show this sense of solidarity and not to discriminate against anyone. With that being said, of course, Islam is very clear about this, and it is even a point of agreement among all the schools of Islamic jurisprudence that there are 5 major basic principal objectives or aims that all the rulings of the noble Islamic Sharia and the Islamic jurisprudence aim to protect and to safeguard. And among them are life and deen, or faith and religion. And of course, both of them are of a paramount importance, and it is for this fact that we give the precedence to protecting the human life, because without the human being there is no deen, or there is no faith, or there is no religion to be observed. So all the necessary measures that are being taken in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19, all of these measures are in line with the noble Islamic jurisprudence, and the one who explores the Islamic jurisprudence and the teachings of Islam on this regard find it very obvious and very evident that Islam even is a barrier of torch in this regard, and in taking and recommending and urging all individuals to take the necessary measures that would prevent the spread of such a pandemic.
Yes. Dr. Hossam, also if you can walk us through the recommendations or the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when it comes to addressing epidemics or pandemics.
Yeah, this is also a great point that I'd like to talk about, and let me highlight here the fact that how it was very fascinating how the global media has been speaking of how is it the Prophet of Islam, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he has already spoken of measures, practical measures that would prevent the spread of pandemics, and this has been brought also, and it even went viral on social media. So, for instance, among the teachings of the Prophet in this regard, that it is not permissible for a person infected with any disease to interact closely and not to observe the social distance with other people. And obviously, the reason is to prevent the spread of such diseases or communicable diseases. Another teaching and statement of the Prophet, peace be upon him, in this regard is a statement that revolves around the idea of quarantine and observing medical quarantines, as he is reported, peace be upon him, to have said that whenever you hear of its outbreak, i.e. a plague or any such pandemic in a certain place or a certain part of the world, don't move to it. And if you are in a place where it has to start to spread, don't leave it, which is, again, like I have mentioned, goes in line with the idea of observing a quarantine. So my point here is Islam is very clear, and we can clearly see that the daily practices of Islam when it comes to cleanliness are vital nowadays to be observed by all human beings in order to lead a healthy lifestyle.
Okay, sir, as we approach the holy month of Ramadan in a few days, of course,
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you about
Yeah.
the pandemic that's
Yes.
taking place,
Yeah.
and how is Ramadan this year going to be different than
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
our lives,
Yeah.
all the Ramadans that we
Yeah.
witnessed, unfortunately, in
Yeah.
the past. In the past, it wasn't unfortunate. The Ramadan that's coming, how are we going to witness? How are we going
Yeah.
to deal?
Yeah.
Are we going to be staying locked down at home?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I highly appreciate bringing up this point, and let me share here with you and all our dear viewers a piece of good news and a glad tiding, according to a statement from the fourth peace be upon him, that whenever a believer is accustomed to conducting or carrying out or performing a religious practice or an act of worship, and then something out of their hands would come to prevent them from carrying it out, they will still get the reward for it. So here, this is very important to ponder and to think about, that this is out of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that even though we are experiencing such critical times, this will not harm or be detrimental to the rewards of observing the fasting of Ramadan and all the rituals like the Taraweeh prayer or the night prayer and all the gatherings and the family gatherings. So we don't need to worry about this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most generous. And furthermore, as a matter of fact, with observing these necessary measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19 or to flatten the curve, as a matter of fact, the believer attains double of the reward. First, by their intention of conducting or performing these acts of worship, and by abiding by or for abiding by these necessary measures out of the intention that we are doing so to protect humanity and to protect the life of every human being. So this is also another piece of good news to be added here in this context, that we don't need to feel disheartened for the fact that we are missing out on the rewards. No, this is not the case. Rather, we need to adopt a healthy, optimistic approach and perspective, and to utilize and to get the best out of these current circumstances to connect more closely and to draw nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also to our families and our loved ones and our extended family. And of course, this is possible nowadays with social media and with all the technologies available. Yes. So my point is, it's very important to maintain a healthy, optimistic approach as to all what is going on, and to maximize the benefits that we can get out of
Sir,
this.
speaking about health, is it acceptable to fast with the COVID-19? This is a question that has come to the minds of many, as it's an immunity-related virus. If you can tell us more.
Yeah, I totally understand, and it's very critical to highlight this question, and you have been receiving it a lot, as a matter of fact, at Al-Azhar Fatwa Global Center. Let me start here at the very outset in answering this question by stating very clearly that yes, all the teachings of Islam pay great deal of consideration to the protection of the human life. And as long as there is any threat that would cause or pose a jeopardy or a hazard to the human life, this constitutes a necessity, and thus all the necessary measures are to be taken in order to protect the life of the human being. So with that being said, if it is medically proven and scientifically established that observing the fasting of Ramadan would make it probable or increase the susceptibility or the probability of being infected with the disease, in this case it is totally permissible to postpone the fasting of the month of Ramadan and to do this later. However, it's very important to mention that this has not been the case so far, and thus, unless it is so
But
established.
Al-Azhar is collaborating with
With
medical
all
authorities.
medical
But there is, sir,
authorities.
there is a fatwa that took place already that says that Muslims will be fasting in the coming Ramadan.
This is a
And
fatwa that Al-Azhar has issued.
the coronavirus is not a reason for Muslims not to fast.
Thank you so much for bringing this up. The fatwa that has been issued by Al-Azhar is as follows. If it is medically proven and it is scientifically established that fasting would cause getting infected or increases even the probability of getting infected, thus it becomes permissible not to fast. Otherwise, it is not permissible, and every Muslim needs to observe the fasting of the month of Ramadan. Yeah.
Yes, we really do appreciate your insight, Dr. Hossam Allam, a member of Al-Azhar Fatwa Global Center. We really do appreciate your insight as always, and we hope that this crisis will come to an end soon, and Egypt will overcome this crisis.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks so much for having me, and always a pleasure.
And dear viewers, stay with us. We still have more here coming up here on Nile Cruise, and don't go away.